Hello and welcome to our Petit Pods. These are little bite-sized pieces of information for you to take away with you, listen wherever you want. They're going to be short, probably going to be to the point, and we hope you enjoy them.
Hello and welcome to another Petit Pod, and today I'm going to be talking quickly about illustrators and what they need to do when they are illustrating a book. Now, you might wonder why I'm bringing up this subject when clearly this podcast is for writers, hence the name, Depend Published. But we do have some people in the community who are not only writers, but they are illustrators too. And of course, one of the most famous that we know and love is our lovely Kylie Dixon, who is a writer. She's just finishing off her third book at the moment, and she's an illustrator too. And funnily enough, she did a Facebook post the other day about the mistake she made as an illustrator. And I thought it'd be a really good idea to bring this up, because I'm also seeing it in the book that I am typesetting today. So the first thing I'm going to say is, if you're going to be illustrating or you're giving your plan to an illustrator, make sure they read the text before they do their illustration. And the reason why I say this is, if you're not doing digital art, let's say you're doing a watercolor or you're sketching it out or you're hand drawing it, if you make a mistake, for instance, it's the wrong character doing something, or their facial expression is different from what the text says, or they're eating food and you illustrate the wrong food that they're eating, you're going to have to do it again. Now, on the book that I'm typesetting at the moment, the text clearly says that the characters are eating French fries. Now, the illustrator's done a lovely drawing of these characters in a restaurant, and they're eating Pringles. And Pringles aren't French fries. And Pringles are quite distinctive. So you can't even kind of get away with, they're like chunky chips. They're not. So it's really important that you read the text. One of the examples that Kylie gave us when she did her live, and I remember this so well because I phoned to tell her that she had to do the illustration again. And she had finished all of the illustrations, and it was her first commission, and the expression of the main character was wrong. And the poor girl, she burst into tears.
Oh.
Because the character had this beaming smile on his face, and the text was quite clearly that he was upset. So she had to redraw the whole picture.
That's interesting that way round, that two picture books I've written in the past came back with, and they each had an illustration wrong. This was in different years, but they each had, and I had to change the text to fit the illustration, because from the publisher's point of view, it was cheaper for them to amend the text than have the illustration amended. And I must admit, I did think, why didn't the illustrator just read the book?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really important. You don't just go straight in. I think the book that I'm working on at the moment is a series, and there was another one where there was an invitation to a party, and the writing on the illustration wasn't spelt correctly from the text of the book. Now, you would think that would be basic illustrator to check, you would think, but obviously, clearly not. The other thing, and I talk about this a lot in my How to Create a Children's Picture Book, and that is picture placement. I don't know why illustrators insist on putting, if they are doing a double page spread, and what I mean by that is the picture goes across 2 pages and you open up the book, and so obviously the picture goes from left to right. I don't understand why illustrators insist on putting the images right in the middle of the book. Because guess what? What's going to happen, Alexa, when that happens? What happens?
Well, when you open the book, the spine is in the middle of the book, so the pages won't necessarily open flat, and you'll lose half the picture in the spine, which is a real shame and looks wrong.
It does. And funnily enough, for the series that I'm doing, in one book, they decided to have pretty much every single illustration in the middle. And as a typesetter, I mean, it's not my job really to insist anything, but I made it very clear that the book would look rubbish. Luckily, they listened and we were able to shift all the images either to the left or to the right, which made it much better. But yeah, don't put illustrations in the middle of a book.
Can you do that if it's a, you told us these terms in another episode that we recorded recently, if it's a book that does open flat where it's stapled, then you can saddle stitched, that's it. For that one, tune into series 5, I think. But if you open a saddle stitched, so a stapled book, it will open flat, so then you can. But if it's got a spine, an actual spine, the book doesn't open flat, not unless you break it by ironing it flat or something, and that's where you lose the illustration.
Yeah, I mean, if the book is like a Julia Donaldson style book, and I've got one here which I'll just grab, because rather than guessing what I'm talking about, I'm actually going to have a book. So we've got a proper spine on this, the wonderful Gruffalo, which is probably the go-to book that I use for all sorts of inspiration. Now, Julia's book it's sewn. Now, I talked about this in episode 5. So it's one of the most expensive ways of getting a book bound, but it's called sewn, and it's literally stitched. That is literally stitched. Now, a sewn book, what it does allow you to open the book flat, pretty much. So you can get away with having images in the middle. But guess what? Good old Julia Donaldson, she doesn't have any images in the middle. She's either got a left-hand page and a right-hand page, and she's got a double page spread. Let's have a look at the double page spread. But look where the main character is. Oh, yes, he's on the left-hand side. And the other main character, where's he? Oh, he's on the right-hand side. There's nothing important going on in the middle of the book. So just have a think about it when the book is open. And yes, if it's saddle stitched and a colouring book, it probably doesn't matter. But if it's a book where you're reading, it probably does. So do be careful with that. And also get your illustrator, or if you're illustrating, make sure you read the text so that you absolutely 100% know what the character's doing. The other interesting thing, and I rescued this unintentionally, mind. So there's a picture of this character sitting on a chair reading a book. But she had it in such a way that the back of the book was showing to us. So the character was sitting with the back of the book showing to us, but she had the title of the book on the back of the book. Well, that wouldn't work, would it?
I'm just trying to picture that, what you're saying. So it's not.
So look, so the character was sitting like this, and we're seeing from the other side.
Ah, okay. So you're seeing the back of the book.
Yes.
Yes.
And it had the title on it.
Yes.
You see, it's things like that just don't work. So you have to be very careful when you're illustrating things like that. Be mindful, be careful, read what the characters are doing, and make sure you don't have anything important going down the middle of your page. And that's the end of this Petit Pod. And next time, we're going to be talking about, well, I don't know, you'll have to tune in. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.